After my husband's boys' trip, he started taking secret medication. I found the prescription and Googled it. My heart stopped. That night, I sent him a screenshot with one question: who else did you infect? After my husband's boys' trip, he started taking secret medication. I found the prescription and Googled it. My heart stopped. That night, I sent him a screenshot with one question: who else did you infect? I don't even know how to describe what it felt like to type those words. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hit send. My heart was pounding in my ears. I was standing in the laundry room, holding his prescription bottle in one hand and my phone in the other, staring at the name of a drug I had never heard of before. I hadn't even meant to find it. I was just doing laundry, something I had done 1,000 times, when I reached into the pocket of his jeans to check for loose change or receipts before throwing them in the wash. Instead, my fingers wrapped around a small plastic bottle, tucked so deep into the pocket that it was like he had shoved it there in a hurry. At first, I didn't think much of it. Mark never took medication. Ever. If he had a headache, he would just sit there and complain about it rather than take a Tylenol. If he had a cold, he'd say things like medicine just delays the healing process and act like suffering through it made him a stronger person. So why was he suddenly taking pills? I pulled the bottle out, expecting maybe vitamins or something harmless, but as soon as I read the label, I knew. The medication was an antibiotic. The kind used to treat sexually transmitted infections. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. My stomach turned to ice. I read the label again, blinking hard, as if I had misunderstood. But no. The name of the drug was right there. A quick Google search confirmed it. My husband had been prescribed medication for chlamydia. I thought I was going to be sick. My mind went blank for a few seconds, and then, like a floodgate opening, everything started rushing in. The way he had been acting ever since he got back from that trip. The exhaustion. The mood swings. The way he snapped at me over the smallest things and then immediately apologized, like he felt guilty but wouldn't say why. The way he had been so weirdly distant, yet overly affectionate at random times, like he was trying to make up for something. I had asked him, just a week ago, if he was feeling okay. He looked awful, dark circles under his eyes, constantly tired. I had even joked, "What did you guys do on that trip? Party so hard you're still hungover?" He had laughed and said, "Yeah, something like that." He had been lying to my face. I don't remember walking back into the house, but I remember how cold my body felt. I felt like I was floating, like none of this was real. But the prescription bottle in my hand was real. The Google search results were real. The betrayal was real. I took a picture of the label, opened our text thread, and typed out the message without even thinking. Who else did you infect? I hit send and walked straight to our bedroom. I sat on the bed, staring at my phone, waiting for the read receipt. Waiting for him to see it. Waiting for the moment he realized his entire world was about to come crashing down. Mark was in the kitchen when his phone buzzed. I heard it vibrate against the countertop. A few seconds later, I heard the chair scrape against the tile. Then silence. No footsteps. No reaction. Just silence. And then, after what felt like forever, I heard him let out a slow, shaky breath. That's when I knew he had read it. I didn't move. I didn't go to him. I waited. I wanted to see what he would do next. I heard him pick up his phone. Heard his breath hitch. Then, finally, I heard him turn around and walk toward the bedroom. When he stepped into the doorway, he didn't look angry. He didn't look confused. He just looked defeated. He knew. He knew he was caught. I held up my phone, showing him the picture of his prescription. Explain this. My voice didn't even sound like mine. It was too calm. Too cold. Mark opened his mouth, but nothing came out. He just stood there, staring at me, his face draining of color. Say something, I snapped. He swallowed hard. He hesitated. I made a mistake. I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. A mistake. A mistake. That's what he was calling this. Like he had accidentally sent a text to the wrong person or spilled a drink on the carpet. I stood up so fast that the bed creaked under me. A mistake? I repeated, my voice rising. You cheated on me. You gave me an STD. And you were just, what? Going to hope I didn't find out? His face twisted, like he wanted to cry. You didn't mean what? I cut him off. Didn't mean to sleep with someone else? Didn't mean to risk my health? Didn't mean to bring home a disease and pretend like everything was fine? Mark ran a hand through his hair, his fingers shaking. I was drunk. I wasn't thinking. It just happened. I stared at him. It just happened. He nodded, swallowing hard. It meant nothing. I shook my head. It meant something. Silence. Then, in a voice so quiet I almost didn't hear it, he whispered, I'm so sorry. I should have felt something. Anger. Sadness. Something. But I just felt numb. I grabbed my purse and car keys. I'm getting tested, I said flatly. And when I get back, I don't want to see you here. Mark's eyes widened in panic. Wait, please, don't. No, I held up a hand. You don't get to beg. You don't get to make excuses. You put my health at risk. Do you even get that? You could have given me something worse. You could have lied forever. But you got sloppy. You got caught. His lip trembled. I love you. I scoffed. No, you don't. I walked past him, out the door, and into my car. I drove straight to the clinic. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring at the road, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I was going to get tested. And when I got home, Mark was going to be gone. At the clinic, I sat in the waiting room, staring at the floor while my mind raced. My heart pounded against my ribs, and my hands felt ice cold. I had been with Mark for 14 years. 14 years. Never once had I even thought about getting tested for an STD because I had never needed to. I had never even questioned his loyalty. And now, I was here. Sitting in a cold, sterile clinic because my own husband had risked my health for a meaningless fling. Or maybe it wasn't meaningless. Maybe it was worse. Maybe it wasn't just a drunken mistake. Maybe it was someone he had been seeing for a while. That thought nearly made me vomit. The nurse called my name, and I followed her to a small exam room. I answered her questions like I was on autopilot, my voice detached from my body. No, I haven't had any symptoms. No, I haven't been with anyone else. Yes, I just found out my partner cheated on me. The nurse gave me a sad look like she had heard this 1,000 times before. That somehow made it worse. They took my blood, had me pee in a cup, and told me the results would be ready in a few days. A few days. I had to sit with this for days. I thanked them, walked out, and got into my car. And then, for the first time since I found the prescription bottle, I cried. Not the quiet kind of crying. The gut-wrenching, choking, ugly sobs that make your whole body shake. I gripped the steering wheel and screamed, my voice cracking under the weight of betrayal. I didn't deserve this. I wiped my face with my sleeve and took a deep breath. My hands were still shaking as I pulled out my phone and called my best friend, Rachel. She picked up on the second ring. What's up? She asked. I opened my mouth, but the words wouldn't come out. There was too much. Too much to explain. Rachel must have sensed something was wrong because her voice softened. Hey, are you okay? I need you to come over, I said. Right now. I could hear her moving around. I'm on my way. By the time I pulled into my driveway, Rachel was already there, waiting on my porch. I hadn't even texted her my address, she just knew. I parked, stepped out, and she took one look at me before opening her arms. I collapsed into her. What happened? She asked. I pulled away and wiped my face. Mark cheated on me. Rachel's entire body stiffened. What? I nodded. And he gave me chlamydia. Rachel's mouth fell open. She looked at me like she couldn't believe what she had just heard. Then, after a long pause, she whispered, that son of a b***tch. I led her inside and told her everything. The trip. The way he had been acting weird. The medication. The confrontation. The test. She sat there, her face going from shock to anger to pure rage. You're divorcing him, right? She asked. Yes. She exhaled. Good. I leaned back on the couch, exhausted. I just want to know who she is. Rachel narrowed her eyes. You don't know? No. He wouldn't say. Rachel was silent for a moment, then grabbed her phone. What are you doing? I asked. She didn't answer. She was already typing. After a few seconds, she looked at me and said, give me an hour. I frowned. I didn't even realize I had started shaking until my fingers fumbled over my screen as I typed back, who? A few seconds later, a name popped up. And then, a picture. I nearly dropped my phone. I knew her. I knew her. My entire body went cold. My vision blurred at the edges. I swallowed hard, my pulse hammering in my ears. Because the woman in the photo? She wasn't some random fling. She was someone I had trusted. And suddenly, everything made sense. I sat there, staring at my phone, my breathing shallow. My stomach twisted as I read the name again. Then I looked at the picture, my brain struggling to accept what my eyes were seeing. It was Michelle. My coworker. My friend. My hands went numb, and my phone nearly slipped from my fingers. This couldn't be real. It had to be a mistake. Rachel had to be wrong. I felt sick. I had confided in Michelle. Just 2 weeks ago, I had told her that Mark had been acting weird since he got back from his trip. I had sat across from her at lunch, venting about how distant he was, how he was moody for no reason. I had told her about the stupid antibiotics, and she had nodded along, looking sympathetic, even offering to come over if I needed a girls' night to take my mind off things. The whole time, she had known. She had been with my husband. I felt like I couldn't breathe. My mind replayed every conversation we had ever had. Every time she had asked about my marriage, about Mark, about our plans. She had always seemed so interested. So supportive. Had she been laughing at me behind my back? I stood up so fast that my vision blurred. I had to talk to Mark. I stormed through the house, grabbed my keys, and marched out the front door. My body was running on pure adrenaline as I got into the car and drove toward the hotel he had been staying at. I didn't even remember parking. I barely registered walking into the lobby, my pulse pounding in my ears. But I did register the look on the receptionist's face when I asked for Mark's room number. She hesitated, glancing down at something on the desk. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice careful. "He's not here." I narrowed my eyes. "What do you mean? Did he check out?" She hesitated again. "Too long. Something was wrong." "I can't disclose that information," she said. My stomach dropped. "Is he here with someone?" She didn't answer. But she didn't need to. The way her lips pressed into a tight line told me everything. I turned around and walked straight to the elevator, ignoring the receptionist calling after me. I knew the room number. I had seen it on his keycard when he packed his stuff. My hands shook as I jabbed the button for the 5th floor. My chest was tight, my breaths coming in short bursts. When the elevator doors slid open, I stepped into the hallway, my legs moving on their own. I didn't stop until I was standing in front of room 518. I raised my hand and knocked, my knuckles hitting the door harder than I intended. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Silence. I was about to turn away when I heard movement inside. A shuffle. The sound of footsteps. Then, whispers. Something inside me snapped. I pounded on the door. "Mark, open the door. Now." More whispers. Then, finally, the door opened just an inch. Mark stood there, looking like a deer caught in headlights. His hair was messy. His shirt was wrinkled. And behind him, I saw her. Michelle. Her face paled the moment she saw me. She was wearing a robe. My robe. The one I had packed in Mark's suitcase for him because I thought he might be more comfortable having a piece of home while staying in a hotel. Everything blurred. My body was shaking so violently I thought I might collapse. My vision tunneled, my blood roaring in my ears. I lunged. Mark caught my wrists before I could hit him, but he stumbled back. Wait, just let me explain." Michelle backed away, clutching the robe around herself like that was going to protect her. It's not what it looks like," she stammered. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. It was hollow and broken and full of rage. "Not what it looks like." I repeated. "You're in a hotel room with my husband. Wearing my robe. After you gave me an STD. My voice cracked on the last word, my throat burning. Michelle opened her mouth, but no words came out. Mark ran a hand through his hair, his face desperate. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I stared at him, my breath coming in shallow gasps. How was it supposed to happen, Mark? He looked away. And suddenly, I knew. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't just a one-time thing. They had planned this. I took a step back, my heart pounding. How long? Mark swallowed hard. What? I clenched my fists. How long have you been sleeping with her? Silence. Then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it, Michelle whispered, 8 months. I felt my knees buckle. The hallway tilted. 8 months. 8 months. Not just a drunken mistake on a Vegas trip. Not just a stupid one-night thing. This had been going on. While I had been cooking dinner. While I had been planning vacations. While I had been coming home late from work, exhausted, thinking my husband was waiting for me. I felt like I was going to throw up. Mark took a step toward me. I never wanted you to find out like this. I snapped my head up, my entire body burning with rage. You didn't want me to find out? My voice came out sharp and broken. You were going to keep lying to me? Mark's jaw tightened, but he didn't answer. I turned to Michelle. You sat there, I hissed, my hands shaking. You listened to me talk about my marriage. You acted like my friend. Tears welled up in her eyes. I never meant to hurt you. I let out a breathless laugh. That's the thing about cheaters. You never mean to hurt people. You just do it anyway. She opened her mouth, but I didn't care anymore. I turned on my heel and walked away. I didn't even wait for the elevator, I took the stairs, my body moving like it was on fire. Rachel picked up on the first ring. I was right, wasn't I, she said. I swallowed hard, my throat raw. Pack a bag, I whispered. We're burning everything down. I barely remember the drive home. My vision was blurred with anger, betrayal, and the sickening realization that my entire marriage had been a lie. 8 months. While I had been living my life, trusting my husband, he and Michelle had been sneaking around behind my back. The worst part? They weren't even sorry. Not really. Rachel was waiting for me when I pulled into my driveway. She must have seen my face, because she didn't say a word. She just grabbed my hand and led me inside. You need to eat, she said. I shook my head. I need to end this. Rachel's eyes darkened. Tell me what you want to do. I exhaled sharply, my hands still shaking. I want everyone to know. They didn't just cheat. They lied to my face for almost a year. They sat across from me, smiled at me, and pretended to care. I want to rip their perfect little world apart the way they ripped apart mine. Rachel nodded slowly. Then let's get to work. I spent the next 2 days gathering everything. Screenshots of text messages I pulled from Mark's old phone backups, receipts from their trips, photos they had taken together that Mark had stupidly stored in our shared cloud account. And, of course, I had the prescription bottle. Then I did something even better. I went to Michelle's fiancé. Yes. Fiancé. I hadn't even thought about it in the moment, but Michelle was engaged. I had been at her damn engagement party. I had congratulated her. Hugged her. Told her how happy I was for her. I found him through social media, sent him a message, and told him we needed to talk. He agreed to meet at a coffee shop. I expected hesitation. I expected disbelief. What I didn't expect was the look on his face when I told him the truth. I knew it, he whispered. I blinked. What? He let out a bitter laugh, rubbing his hands over his face. I knew something was off. I didn't have proof. She started acting weird almost a year ago. She was distant, but every time I asked, she said she was just stressed with work. He shook his head, his jaw tightening. It was him. It was Mark. All along. I slid the prescription bottle across the table. His eyes flicked down to it, and when he saw what it was, his face turned pale. That's yours, he asked. I shook my head. It was in his jeans. He let out a slow, shuddering breath. She told me she had a UTI. His hands clenched into fists. She gave me chlamydia. The rage in his eyes was almost identical to what I felt burning in my own chest. Are you ready to destroy them? I asked. He exhaled. Then he nodded. The confrontation happened at a dinner party. It was a mutual friend's birthday. A public place. Mark and Michelle would be there. So would all of our friends. People who had known us for years. People who believed in our marriage, in her relationship. Rachel helped spread the word that something big was about to go down. Nobody knew the details, but by the time the dinner started, the tension was thick. Mark and Michelle arrived together. Not touching, not looking guilty, just normal. Like they had done nothing wrong. I stood up. So did Michelle's fiancé. The room quieted. I pulled out my phone, opened the screenshots, and airdropped them to everyone. I watched as people's faces changed. Laughter died. Forks clattered against plates. I saw confusion, then shock, then disgust as people read text messages between Mark and Michelle. Dates, locations, intimate details. Then I spoke. For the past 8 months, my husband and my friend have been sleeping together. Lying to me. Lying to all of us. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. Mark went on his boys' trip and came back with an STD. And instead of confessing, he went to the doctor, got himself treated, and hoped I would never find out. But I did. Because I tested positive. Gasps. Murmurs. People staring at them now. Michelle's fiancé stepped forward. His voice was calm. Too calm. Michelle told me she had a UTI. She lied. She gave me chlamydia. Dead silence. Michelle shot up from her chair. This isn't fair. You're ambushing us, you ambushed me, I snapped. For 8 months, you let me sit across from you at work and tell you about my life while you were screwing my husband. You pretended to be my friend. My voice broke, but I kept going. So tell me, Michelle, what part of this is unfair? That people know the truth? That you're finally feeling even an ounce of the humiliation you put me through? She opened her mouth. Closed it. Then I turned to Mark. He looked frozen. Ashamed. His eyes flicked around the room like he was looking for an escape. There is no coming back from this, I said. We are done. You're a liar, a coward, and you don't deserve the loyalty I gave you. Mark swallowed hard. You never wanted to get caught, I finished for him. But you did. Someone from our friend group muttered, Jesus Christ, man. Michelle's fiancé exhaled sharply. We're done too, he told Michelle. I hope it was worth it. The shame on her face would have made me feel bad if she had been anyone else. But she wasn't. She was a liar. A cheater. Mark reached for me. Please, I stepped back. Don't touch me. The dinner was over. People left in a storm of whispers, judgmental glances thrown at them like knives. They deserved it. Rachel walked me out, her hand gripping mine. Are you okay? I let out a breath. I will be. Because I was free. Free of Mark's lies. Free of the doubt, the fear, the humiliation. And as I got into Rachel's car, leaving Mark and Michelle to deal with the wreckage they had created, I realized something. They didn't destroy me. They destroyed themselves.